Yes, thank you. Yeah. You can use that mic, Mr. Senghor, and do your introduction.
Yes, thank you. My name is Ousainou Senghor, and I've read the outline in your header. I used to be the former Director of Finance for the Administration for the Gambia Tourism Board, which I served from June 2008 to September 2020. Yes, I said my name is Ousainou Senghor. As rightly pointed out in your header, I used to be the Director of Finance and Admin at the Gambia Tourism Board from June 2008 to September 2020. Yeah. 2020.
Thank you very much. Mr. Senghor, just to inform you that the Standing Committee on Public Petitions is established to receive formal complaints from the public on matters of public concern and subsequently draw recommendations on these petitions to the plenary. We have received a complaint from the staff of the GT board alleging certain things which we will discuss later, which includes graft, abuse of office, etc. So it is important to note that this inquiry is not a witch-hunting exercise, but rather it is to get the facts straight, draw recommendations that will ensure strong and efficient public institutions to serve the citizens and other individuals of this country. So you can be assured as a witness that your rights and privileges as a witness are guaranteed and enshrined in the standing orders of the National Assembly. For further information, every person summoned to give evidence or to produce any paper, book, record, or other document before the Assembly, any committee of the Assembly shall be entitled, in respect of his or her evidence or the production of such documents, to the same privilege as if he or she were appearing before a High Court. Also, your answer to a question put by the Assembly shall not be admissible evidence against you in any civil or criminal proceedings outside the Assembly, other than proceedings of perjury brought under criminal law. Therefore, you are expected to speak the truth and not to mislead this committee, contrary to which shall be considered a contempt of the National Assembly. Just want to inform you that this is a public hearing and we are live as we are speaking. And alert us, please, if you want to say something which has some security concerns, so that we will divert the camera from the hearings. Thank you very much. Just to inform you that before we proceed, we'll take oath or affirmation. The clerk will do that. Thank you.
I, Ousainou Senghor,
I, Ousainou Senghor,
do affirm that
do affirm that
I will speak the truth,
I will speak the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Senghor. We can now proceed with the session. And we'll commence by asking, you've already told us that you were the finance director, former finance director from June 2008 to September 2020. And as head of the contracts committee then, can you take us through the composition of the committee and what was the TOR of that committee?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just for the records, I just wish to state that I never received any letter from the committee. I just got a phone call from the clerk. I think it was around midday. So what I said, let me just come, because I think naturally there is no need to delay this. And I'm very happy and privileged to be in front of you to at least answer your calls. Now, when I joined the Gambia Tourism Authority, then it was called the GTA. Then I had a DG who was also the board chair. Once I took office, I was tasked to take the responsibility of being the chair of the It's not coming. Hello? Yes, I was tasked to be And I remember my first recommendation was the committee has to consist of directors, so that at least it will be at a level that we are all equal. It's more like the chairman is just there, but it's more like boss among equals. So the committee consists of the directors of the four directorates of the agency, with the procurement officer serving as a secretary to the committee. So basically, the TOR was aligned with the GBPA Act, and our major focus was to look at contracts that are beyond $500,000. That requires tenders. Most of it, we have the SPU, who normally does the day-to-day RFQs. And naturally, at the end of the month, when there is the procurement report being submitted, it has to be signed off by myself. So as far as I'm concerned, those were the terms and those were the functions of how we operate. We keep the minutes and we ensure that members sign off the minutes of those meetings. Thank you.
We are dealing with contracts that are beyond 500,000.
Yes, because basically, if you look at procurement, it can go from $1,000, let's say, to up. But as a contracts committee, we try to look at the bigger numbers. The smaller amounts that are less of materiality was normally handled by the SPU, which we call the Special Procurement Unit, which entails the procurement assistant or officer, along with staff of the admin staff and staff of that level. Thank you.
Just for the records, when you mentioned 3 directors of the agency, can you give us those names?
Yes, if I can recall correctly, the directors of the authority is the director of marketing, the director of finance, the director of product development, and the director of quality control. Yes, and licensing.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Senghor. You made mention that the contracts committee only deals with contracts that are 500,000 and above. The other procurement issues are dealt with by the SPU, that is the Special Procurement Unit. I want to confirm, is this by law or these are just internal arrangements that you've made at the GT board then?
No, I think this goes with our recommendation, but I'm not fully sure. But if I can recall, based on GBP recommendations, or we were required to have an SPU, because we felt that as directors, we could not meet on every procurement. Particularly, some of them are routine procurement. Let's say buying stationery, buying milk or provisions. Those are things that happens virtually regularly. So it becomes very difficult to say you have to bring in all the directors to meet on this. So what we tend to look at is RFQs. Those are issues that definitely we leave to the SPU. But at a certain level, as a contracts committee, we took it up as the directors of the institution.
Mr. Senghor, where this amount budgeted for? The ecologist.
Did you were aware of the ecologist contract?
Yes, naturally, I am aware of it.
And that's what she is asking, that the amounts that were mentioned there, whether they were budgeted for.
Yes, I think let me be very clear on these ecologists in terms of the funding. I joined the then authority when it was an overdraft. It was virtually a dead institution. With the knowledge that I brought in and with the support of my colleagues, we turned around. When I left the institution, the total bank balance was over 111 million. With the support of the then chairman, Bakari Jalme, we had a meeting and says, look, TDA deposits, we need to introduce a levy. I prepared a board paper along with my colleague, and what we submitted to the board was to say, land for investment, the project value, instead of it being a deposit, is going to be a levy. And when we introduced the levy, the justification was to use that money to develop the TDA as well as rural Gambia. Because when you look at the tourism, the products are dead and tired. And what we felt through all engagement with operators was the need to activate upcountry tourism. And this was something that we started when the then acting Director General MS Job was in opposition. We've tried so many avenues to raise funds, but we couldn't. So to answer to Honorable, what I will tell you is the budget was there, the money was linked to the 5% levy that we were collecting. This was a paper that was approved by the board and subsequently approved by cabinet. Thank you.
Mr. Senghor, just a follow-up question. You mentioned that the institution was deadly before, and this triggered the introduction of the levy. What benefit did the levy give to the rural Gambia?
I think today I am very proud when you look at the tourism area. They've done roads in the TDA. I've seen the Palmarima area. I've seen the Golden Beach Hotel area. And if you look at also around the football field, they're doing the roads. And they're also now working on these lodges. So this was the strategy. The strategy was, look, we cannot wait for donor money. Government cannot fund this. We've been thinking about this for years. I convinced the chairman then, and we agreed. We submitted a board paper The board approve it, cabinet approve it. And today, anybody can visit the TDA and see the difference this levy had on the TDA. Thank you.
So when the levy is paid, it goes straight to the Consolidated Revenue Fund, or do you have your own account for that?
Mr. Chairman, we open a bank account specially for this levy. It's maintained at the Gambia Tourism Board. It's a bank account that no transaction goes in or out. Everything that goes in conforms with the directive of the cabinet, because that was the cabinet because remember, the levy, though the board has approved, it was elevated to the ministry. The minister, we have to commend him for fighting to get us have that 5% levy, and that is in a separate bank account. Thank you.
Mr. Senghor, who are the signatories to this account?
Just like, if I can recall, the normal GT board signatories is category A and B. You have finance, who are category B. Then you have the director general and the other directors who are category A. So 2 people have to sign for a check to be processed. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. You said something that is very interesting, and then I think it is important we highlight some of those things. When was this levy introduced?
Thank you, Honorable. If I can recall, it will be around it was in this new dispensation. It most likely will be 2017, 2018.
If I may still proceed, please. Previously, before the levy, how was the GT board functioning? Did they depend on budget from the National Assembly only?
Honorable, the GT board, if I can remember, had 4 revenue streams. When I joined the institution, then the only stream that was subvention. I think by the time I left, we did not need subvention. Government subvention, though comes, but we hardly needed. We had a revenue stream called the development levy, which was £10, which was £5, then moved to increase to £10, which every traveling passenger pays. It's always embedded in your air ticket. That's normally, if I can recall, serve about between 40 to 60% of the board's revenue. Then they have license fee. These are the fees that the hoteliers, the casinos, restaurants, nightclubs, and small operators pay to the board. Then after that, then this levy came very lately, like I said earlier, in 2017 or 18, I'm not sure, to be precise.
Mr. Senghor, we are informed that the development levy was 10% at some point before it becomes 5%. You were aware of that?
Mr. Chairman, what we introduced was 10%. We lobbied for 10%, but ultimately it has to be approved by cabinet, and it was taken by cabinet to be 5%. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much. I just want to ask, were there enough funds to implement this project?
However, there were adequate funds projected to implement the lodges fully.
So, there were enough funds by the time you awarded the contracts to Lair Group. That's what you are saying.
Mr. Chairman, what I'm saying is, when the contract was awarded, I cannot recall everything, but I can fully tell you that we had enough money to pay for the what do you call the initial payment, and there was enough money. The contract was aligned in such a way that the board was going to pay everything on time. There was enough money, yes.
So why was it necessary to negotiate for a pre-finance with the Lair Group?
Mr. Chairman, what you look at in terms of any construction is you have to remember that what we were doing or what we intended to do was not a normal expenditure. This was an investment.
Yeah.
The idea was to build these lodges and recoup every recruit spent on the lodges. We were going to outsource the running of these lodges to private operators. So what we deemed fit was, if we plan it in such a way, by the time we even outsource these lodges to be run, they can even contribute to the payment of this. But like I said, if you look at the applications we have in place and what we plan, there was enough money. But the reason why we asked for a pre-financing is, of course, things has to do with budgets, and we felt the need that, look, if the guy has the capacity, he can do it. There is time value of money. If I can pay you on Monday, and you told me, no, if you don't need it, you can keep it for 3 months, I will take that option, because at least I will earn something on my money. Thank you. Well, I have to be honest, up to the time I left, there was no suspension. Maybe everything happened after the time I left. But as far as I am concerned, the contract was signed to be implemented. Until the time I left, I was not aware of any suspension. Thank you. Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I think those are not things that I'm aware of. As far as I am concerned, Red Group, we were awarded through a competitive bidding. They become the winners, 3 were tendered. When the 3 were tendered, during the negotiation, we look at the financial options of the institution. If they can pre-finance 2 more, why should we wait for a year or 2 to put another tender when prices would have gone up, factoring inflation and other costs? So hence the reason why they have those things. But as far as I'm concerned, Red Group tendered for the 3, and they won the award based on a competitive bidding. Thank you.
Hello, thank you, Mr. Senghor. It is clear that there were 5 eco lodges to be built. And you people were advised by GPPA, and also for being rational, ensuring that these 5 could be built without delay. Why do you choose Lair Group, which cannot do the job at the speculated time?
Thank you. I think we need to be very clear here. Lair Group bidded, they bidded. And what we are saying is we evaluated and recommended for them. And the contracts were subsequently awarded to them. Like I said to you, I'm not aware of that advice from the GPPA. What I know in terms of procurement is you cannot associate yourself or bid twice. But it's just like buying vehicle. If you if you want to buy 10 vehicle, you don't have to go to TK Motors, go to, let's say you go to TK Motors, you go to the Toyota guys, or you go somewhere else. You can make a bidding based on your competitive evaluations and make a decision. But that is my decision, and that is my belief, and that is the professional decision I made. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Senghor. Mr. Senghor, the GPPA wrote to the GT board yeah. Yes. Hello? Yes. So, just this paragraph. After a careful study of your submission, that is submission from the GT board, the authority regrets to inform you that approval cannot be granted at this stage due to some incomplete documentation highlighted below. You are also advised to divide the construction of the 5 ecologies into lots and restrict each lot to only one contractor in order to enhance timely completion of the project. And this is the, can you show him? You can remind yourself whether you ever seen that letter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like I said, I cannot fully recall this letter, but what I can tell you is ultimately we as a contracts committee have to submit our recommendations to GPPA for approval. And ultimately, before we enter into any agreement or engage in lead group or even write to them to notify them, we have to get the approval of the GPPA. So GPPA ultimately approve our recommendations for Lord to be awarded the 5 projects. That's what I can report. Thank you.
So, but you were aware of this letter from the GP?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. I cannot recall fully this letter.
You cannot recall.
Yeah, but what I can explain to you was that whatever decision was made by the contracts committee has to be endorsed by the Director General and has to be sent to the GPPA for approval. We could not even notify any of the bidders without getting the GPPA approval. So that's where the conundrum is, because I know that if we have got a letter from GPPA and say we are not approving it, we will not be even mad to engage or enter into a contract with the layer group. Thank you.
Do you have any letter of approval from the GPPA? Do you have that in your possession?
Mr. Chairman, like I say, I have no documents on me. I was just notified I think a few hours before my coming. And also, when I left the board, I did not go with any document. So all those documents should be with the board, and I think the board should be in a position to provide you with copies of those letters approving the 5 lodges been awarded to Lair Group. Thank you.
Would you be surprised if GPPA says they did not approve you awarding this to Blair?
Mr. Chairman, I think that's a non-starter because, like I said earlier on, we are not mad to enter into a contract without getting approval from GPA. We got the approval, and I think the board should be able to provide you with that letter approving the awarding of these lodges to Lair Group. Thank you.
What was the original advance that you give to the Lair Group to start the 5 ecology?
I cannot recall accurately. Like I said, I don't have any documents either with me here or with me. I left everything at the port. But I think it was percentage time. If I recall, maybe around 30% was what was supposed to pay to him. A certain state 20%, and the certain state 10%, and then the final state 10%.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Senghor, were you granted approval to go ahead with the state contract?
Absolutely, Honorable.
You are granted.
Yes, I think the GT board should be able to provide the copies of those letters. Thank you.
So can you clarify the percentage that was advanced to? And when we say pre-finance, what do you understand by that between you and the Lair Group?
Mr. Chairman, what we are saying is this is an agreement. I cannot recall, the numbers may not be right because, like I said, I don't have any documents on me, neither with me. Everything is at the board. We should be able to provide that to you. We were supposed to pay, for example, 30% to him. At a certain stage of the building, we will pay another 20%, at a certain stage another 20%, and I think finally 10%. So basically, it was for him to ensure that he can provide the monies that we were building the gaps of the payments. Because if we go through the contract outlines the stages he has to reach at each level of payment.
So do you remember the Bara ecology? Do you remember the agreement you have with him on that?
Yes, this is one agreement. There is one agreement that is signed that entails all the 5 lodges that were awarded to him. Yes.
Was the original contract for Bara, was it ecologies or was it something else?
Mr. Chairman, as far as I am concerned, what was awarded to us was the POQ, the request for tender that he tendered on. And the contract is based on that description, that POQ, and the amounts and the figures reflect that. So as far as I'm concerned, there is only one contract that has been signed with Lair Group up to the time I left the board. Okay.
So were you aware of any additional assignment given to the Lair Group in respect to Bara?
Not to my knowledge, Mr. Chairman. Like I said, everything with Lair Group is based on the tender he submitted. There's a BOQ, which was highly reviewed, and if you look at the contract, you will see the amounts correspond. So that's what I'm aware of. I'm not aware of any other contract.
So the initial amount, do you remember the initial amount advanced to him in terms of cash?
Again, these numbers, I don't have them in front of me. I think it works around 34 million, if I can recall. It could be right or wrong, but it's about 34.
Wouldn't it not be 38.5?
Yeah, it could be that number. Like I said, I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I just have to come here in a few hours.
So that initial advance is 40%. Is it 40% of the total for all the 5 lodges?
Yes, whatever was advanced to him was for the 5 lodges. The agreement was for him to deliver these 5 lodges within a stipulated time, which is embedded in the contract, as well as the payment terms is also embedded in that contract. There is only one contract that I can recall that during my tenure there that was signed with Lair Group. Thank you.
The contractor is saying that an additional work has been given to him at Bara, which is started. Those are impact story buildings, and he's done it up to floor concrete. But it appears nothing has been advanced to him, which has slowed down the whole process. What would you say to that?
Mr. Chairman, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, the contract is based on the BOQ and the tender document. That's the only thing I can recall. Whatever contract else, definitely I am not aware, or I am not part of any other contract out of this contract that we signed. Thank you.
Do you also remember whether who owns that land where the ecologies were built at Bara?
I'm not sure, but I will assume that it must have been owned by the National Council for Arts and Culture, because this was something that was in the making. We've been planning with NCAC for years, even before this project become realized. Like I tell you in the beginning, we were trying to look at how do we regenerate, how do we make the tourism products better in this country. So if I am recall correctly, NCAC are the custodian of that land. Thank you.
So what was the total? What was the total approved? Since it is approved by the GPPA, what was the total approved for each lot? Do you remember that?
I cannot recall the number, Mr. Chairman, but if you look at the GPPA approval, I think you can look at the GPPA approval, the contract. This can be provided to you by the board, and you will see that the numbers are aligned. So the 5 were identified, total, linked with the BOQ, approved BOQ, on the contract. Thank you.
Mr. Senghor, can you please inform this committee when did this contract was signed?
No, I cannot. I don't want to guess. Maybe it might be 2019. 2018, 2019, yes.
You served as a finance director at GT board for the past 12 years, right?
Yeah.
And you are the one responsible for all the financial transactions.
Yes.
Can you please help this committee? How much did you make advance payment to LERP?
Yes, thank you, Honorable. Like I said earlier, I cannot recall the numbers, but the board should be able to provide you the documents. The documents will show you the contract, the payment terms, and the phases of the works that is going to be done. So that number should be there. Thank you.
Mr. Senghor, under whose commands are payment done at GT board?
Payments are done at the board through using the normal accounting procedures. Requests are made, the Director General approve, minute to Director of Finance, who will also minute to his staff. The payment voucher is prepared with the supporting documents, and a check is drawn. It is, like I said to you earlier on, we have 2 categories of signatories. We have the A and the B. The B is the finance, they will sign and take it to the A to sign. That's what I'm saying. The payment is done by the finance department. Naturally, but it has to follow a process. The accounting officer, being the Director General, have to minute to finance, they convey approval to finance, for finance then to start the process of the payment. That is to prepare the payment vouchers, get the adequate supporting documents, prepare the checks, and take it back to the Director of Finance. If he signs, then he has to go back to the Director General, for the Director General to countersign the check. Thank you.
Yes, I understand. I believe that the finance unit have a head, right? Which you are.
Yes.
Can you please tell us who make this payment to LERP?
That's what I'm explaining to you. The checks naturally were signed by myself as the Director of Finance and countersigned by the Director General.